So the next way to connect your granny squares is what's called connecting as you go. And usually how you do this is to make one less round on your granny square than you intend to have for your finished project. Let's take this square. So if we're doing a pattern and it wants you to do 3 rounds on your granny square, you would do 2 rounds, and then the 3rd round would be for this step called connecting as you go. So I'm just going to say that this pattern called for 4 rounds, since we've already done 3 rounds on our granny square, and then the 4th round will be our connecting round. So to start off, you just want one granny square that has all 4 rounds. So I'm going to do the 4 rounds on this granny square, just like we did all the other ones. I'm going to use this turquoise color again, and then I'll meet you back and show you how to start connecting them as you go. So I've added my 4th round to this granny square. Now we're just going to start our 4th round on this square so we can start connecting it to this one. So to start off, you just connect to the corner and then make your building chain and then your first 2 double crochet stitches. Now to connect to the corner, you're going to do it in the middle stitch of your corners. So on this method, you always want to use 3 stitches just because that kind of works a little bit better, or 1 stitch would work too. So an odd number of stitches just so you have a middle stitch. So I did my first chain. You're going to take your hook out and then you're going to connect it to the corner in the corner hole of this stitch here. Insert your hook back into the stitch, pull it through the loop, and then make your chain. So that makes the center stitch and connects it to this square. Then make your 3rd chain and then finish off your 3 double crochets in the corner over here. So now we're going to do the chain stitch. So we're going to take our hook out, insert it into this hole here, which is where this chain stitch is. Tighten it back up around the shank and then pull this stitch through and make your chain, and then do the 3 double crochets in this hole here. So this kind of allows you to make your 4th row on this other square while you're connecting to the 4th row on this square. And it just makes a nice looking way to connect these that's really easy as well. You're not having to thread your needle and whip stitch across. There's not like a big row in between each square, which is created with the other ways that you stitch these together with the crochet hook. Oops, I didn't do my chain first. Do your chain, then pull through. 1 more chain, and then finish your corner over here. So I just think this is a good option for those of you that don't want to get out your needle and connect them together. So that's kind of how that looks once it's connected. It does connect them together on the edge, so if you don't like the way that looks, there are other methods for connecting them. I'm not going to go into all the other methods because there's a million methods to connecting granny squares, but I'll link to some other tutorials that friends or other bloggers that I know have created for connecting granny squares, just because I could spend all day teaching you granny square connecting methods. With my Granny a Day project, I've done tons of them. But these are just the easiest ones to get you started, and then you can start looking for your own methods that you like. So I'm just going to finish off connecting this round, and then we'll do another square. So we have 2 of our squares connected with the connect as you go technique. And so I'm just going to start connecting this one. And this works with all kinds of shapes. It works with hexagons, any kind of granny shape that's going to have the 3 double crochets and a chain in between. You can connect this way, just because that's the technique that you're using, is connect in the holes that you make for the granny squares. So this is great for any kind of shape of granny square that you might be making. And make sure you don't pull that connecting stitch too tight, and you don't want it too loose either. You just want it to be nice and even with all your other stitches so it looks good and doesn't pucker in or anything like that. So for this corner, I like to do the diagonal. So I'm going to go here on this one, and then on the next square I connect, I'll go into this side. Again, that's just so there isn't a hole when we finish off. We want to have a nice connected corner. And usually by crisscrossing the corners, you can get that nice connection there. So our third square is connected, and now I'm just going to do finish up this square, and then I'll show you how to finish this last corner, and then we will be done with this connecting method. So we're ready to connect our fourth square. And something I didn't mention, because it's not something I think about because I'm right-handed and I always crochet the same way. I'm connecting squares from the right corners and then going around on all of my squares. I always start at the bottom right or the bottom left of the square, I guess, and then connect from the right around to the left side of the square. If you're left-handed, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to connect from this side and go around, but it's pretty much going to be the same. And in fact, since I just flipped that, that's not going to even make sense to you because you're going to see that as the right side. So do what I say, not what I do. Do whatever feels more comfortable for you. If it's more comfortable that you start from this corner and go around, that's great. If it feels more comfortable for you to go from this corner and go around, you can do that as well. It just depends on which hand you're using. So I'm going to connect this granny square and get it started. Oops. Even I get carried away sometimes. Forget what I'm doing. So there's our first corner. Okay, so we're at the corner now. So we're going to make our one chain. And then, like I said, we're going to go into this, the corner of this diagonal right here. So this hole kind of closes up a little. So we're going to go through that. pull that through, make your chain, then one more to finish that corner. And then you're going to start this side here. And then just continue on around connecting and then finish your granny square. Okay, so that kind of shows you how that connection looks, and I really like this. I think this is a really easy way to connect squares. I think it always looks really good, especially when you take your hook out. It just kind of makes it look like there's like a little cabled edge between all of these. Something that, you know, might be annoying for those of you that are connecting this way is that the ends are going to be on every square. So every square is going to have an end from you connecting that you're going to have to weave in. So if you're doing a really big blanket, you might consider doing a different method. If you're doing the crochet, single crochet along, you can just take your skein of yarn, crochet all the way across, and you only have 2 ends, one on each end to connect, because you're going to go along a whole row. And then I just like to do rows, and then I'll go back in and do the other crossway rows, just to make it a lot easier for myself. So as much as I love this method, I don't usually end up using it a lot on bigger Afghans. I usually only end up using it on baby blankets, just because that's a lot of ends to weave in, and I'm kind of one that I like to get things done quickly. So anything that's going to take me less time, I will use that method. But again, I really like the way this method looks, and I like that it's faster than using a yarn needle to connect the squares, but it's just up to whatever you want to do. It's just up to you.